Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks, and may I say ho ho ho, because this is my Christmas cake 2021 recipe. So I've got my kitchen prepared and ready for a baking rather than a brewing day, and as you can see, there's an awful lot going on here. As you can see, there's a huge amount of ingredients going into this cake. I'll talk you through what they are now. I'll go through the amounts as I'm actually doing the baking. So, we've got chopped dates, sultanas, mixed fruit, plain flour, walnuts, peanut butter, cocoa powder, brown sugar, brandy butter, ground mixed spice, ground cinnamon, black treacle, honey roasted peanuts, butter, almonds, glacier cherries, mixed peel, orange and lemon, 4 eggs and dark chocolate. So my Christmas cake is based on the traditional dark fruit cake recipe that Christmas cakes are based on, but I like to add my own twist, you know me. So I add to it dark chocolate and an assortment of nuts, peanut butter, honey roasted peanuts and other nuts, just to give it a more chocolatey, nuttier flavour, as well as being very fruity. My first job is to weigh out 250 grams of plain flour. And there I've got 254 grams, that will be just fine. So using a sieve, I'm going to get my plain flour into a mixing bowl. And I just want it to go through the sieve so it makes it all nice and fine, no lumps or clumps in there. And that's perfect. So I'm going to add into this a teaspoon each of ground nutmeg, ground mixed spice, ground cinnamon and cocoa powder. So in goes the nutmeg, the ground mixed spice and the cinnamon, and finally the cocoa powder. A bit more than a teaspoon went in there, I'm not bothered, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to mix it up now, as you can see. So these are all the dry ingredients so far. Okay, now I need to mix my butter, peanut butter, brandy butter, black treacle, orange and lemon peel and brown sugar together. I need to weigh out 200 grams of brown sugar. 207, that'll do. And that goes into a separate mixing bowl. So I've got 53 grams of brandy butter. So I'm going to scrape my brandy butter out and just put it into a bowl. I'm not adding it to the sugar straight away. I've got something else to do first. I now need to weigh out 50 grams of peanut butter, which is easier said than done when you're doing it with one hand. There's 65 grams, that'll be fine. And then just as with the brandy butter, the peanut butter goes into the same bowl. Now I need to weigh out 150 grams of butter. There's 142 grams, that will do because I was slightly over with the peanut butter. So all my butters, my fats are now together in one bowl, and that bowl is going into the microwave for 30 seconds. And I just want it to soften. That will do nicely. So I'm aiming to get a dessert spoon of black treacle, which should be quite achievable. There we go. And that's going to go into the sugar, which you've already seen. Now I'm going to add all my butters into the sugar and black treacle and cream them together. So in that goes. So here's the bowl, and it is just a case of mix and mix and mix until it all creams into a nice smooth mixture. So now it's time to get cracking, and I want to put my eggs now into my sugar and butters mixture. I'm using a glass to crack my egg into to avoid getting any eggshell into the mix. So I now take my egg and I pour it into the sugar and butter mixture. And along with my egg, I'm going to add a good couple of heaped dessert spoonfuls of the dry flour mixture. So that's all together, and then it's a case of mixing. I'm trying not to get it everywhere, which I'm good at. I usually have to deep clean the kitchen when I've done this. So that's the first egg and the first bit of flour in. I've now got to add each egg and flour at a time. So it's egg with flour, egg with flour, egg with flour, and beat and stir in between. And now that bit's done. So now I need to add my mixed dry fruit and sultanas. I wanted 500 grams, I've got 514, that's totally fine. So these go into my mixing bowl. And now it's a case of stirring and folding them in. So now I need 100 grams of mixed peel, 50 grams of glass cherries, and 50 grams of chopped dates. I'm just going to chop each glass cherry in half because they're a little bit big if you leave them whole. So now the fruit goes into the mix, and again it's a case of folding and stirring and folding and stirring, and this is getting into a tough old mixture now, very, very packed, but you want it to be evenly distributed around, so it does need mixing well. Okay, I want to add 100 grams of nuts, so I'm just going to start off with the honey roasted peanuts. Top up with some walnuts. So I'm on 87 grams now with the walnuts and the honey roasted peanuts, and I'm going to get it up to 100 with the blanched almonds. Okay, I've got my blanched almonds, my walnuts and my honey roasted peanuts. Now in here I've actually got 120 grams. I was going for 100, 20 more grams isn't going to hurt. They're now going to get blitzed. Here comes the noisy bit. So here's my nuts, and they're now going into the mixture also. And now, as before, I've got to mix all this lot together. I need all those nuts to be properly mixed in like the fruit was with the mixture that's there. So I've still got some dry ingredients to go in, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of those in now, and that's going to make it even stiffer, but I'm just going to water it down with a tiny little bit of milk. That's enough. And then I'm just going to stir again, and I'm going to repeat with milk and with flour until it's all in there. Almost finally, I'm going to add 120 grams of dark chocolate. So these are 100 gram bars, so I'm just going to break these up, pop them into the basher so I can then blend them down and just get them into slightly smaller pieces. Yeah, it's a pity that I've had to open the second bar, because otherwise, you know, I want to be not rid of this. More of chocolate. Okay, that'll do. And once again, that'll do. It's reduced it a little bit. There'll be some bigger pieces and some smaller pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to empty the chocolate into the mixture. As you can see, we've got varying size pieces. That's fine, it will melt down a bit anyway. It's not traditional to put chocolate in a Christmas cake, but I like to do my own thing. Okay, you're not seeing things. I am roughly drawing around a plate onto some greaseproof paper. want to make a circle, which I've done there. Okay, then using a pair of scissors, I'm going to try and as neatly as possible cut the circle out. I'm not the neatest of cutters, but let's have a go. Okay, one circle. What's it for? So here's my silicone baking tray, and I'm going to line the bottom of it with this circle, hopefully. Et voila. And then using a little bit of kitchen roll, I'm just going to get some butter on my finger and rub it onto the baking paper. And this will mean that the cake doesn't stick to the bottom, hopefully. So I've done some extra paper to go around the edges, which I've also greased, and as I fill this up it will push it to the sides of the tray. Okay, here it all is now in the silicone baking vessel, and it's going to go into the oven at 140 for somewhere between 4 and 4.5 hours. Now the recipe says 150, but this is a fan oven, so I'm going to do it at 140. It was difficult to film me doing it, so I've just popped the cake in the oven. It's on the bottom shelf, it's at 140, and it's going to be staying there for a few hours now. Okay, the cake's in the oven. Now just to explain, if you think I'm being a bit premature making a Christmas cake in early November, I'm not. It needs about 6 weeks to mature before you eat it, and that is to allow the flavour to develop in the cake, but it's also to feed the cake each week. So each week I'll put some little pinpricks in the top with a cocktail stick, and I'll feed it with a little bit of dark rum or whiskey, whatever I've got my hands on, and that will give it moisture and an incredibly intense flavour, and that is where you get your goodness in your Christmas cake from. So that's why I'm making it now, that's why I'm uploading the film now. Right, we're halfway through. Let's have a little look. Gently. Oh, it looks alright, right, it's looking nice, nice. Shut the oven. They're crossed. Let's hope it works. Okay, so T minus 30 minutes. I'm hopeful. 4 hours later and straight out of the oven. This is what it looks like. Is it ready? I'm not 100% sure. Give it a poke. So the internal temperature is near 160 according to this, even though it was in at 140. Is it going to be clean when it comes out? Do we call that clean? Let's try again. It looks clean to me. I don't want to overcook it, but at the same time I want it to be cooked. I think this looks pretty good to me. What I want to do is I want to pop it back in the oven and turn the oven off and leave it for 10 minutes and then take it out. Okay, now it's out, and I'm going to leave it to cool for a good 15-20 minutes before I do anything else. Okay, it's been 20 minutes now. I'm now going to try and remove this from the cooking vessel. So I'm just going to take a normal knife, and using the back of the blade I'm going to go around the edge to make sure that in between the paper parchment and the silicone there's nothing sticking and catching. And this feels quite loose actually, this feels alright. So now I take a dinner plate, that goes on top, and let's attempt the flip. Oh yes! That is one good looking cake. I am well happy with that. Just look at that. That is an absolute beauty. Okay, I want to get the cake onto the cooling rack. That's gone lovely. I couldn't be any happier with this actually. This has really worked out well. So there it is on the cooling rack. Okay, I need to leave this to cool overnight now, which is just fine. So, good night. Keep the flies off, and I'll come back to this tomorrow. Right, good night for now. I'll be back in the morning. Good morning from the kitchen, folks. It's back to my Christmas cake. Let's have a look at it. So it's been here overnight. It's cooled down nicely. As you can see, it looks pretty good. So now I'm going to begin the process of feeding the cake, and I do that by making some holes in the top with a cocktail stick, and I've got to make lots of these all over the top of the cake. And I need lots of holes. Okay, that now has lots of holes. So let's feed it, and I'm feeding it with Whyte Mackay blended Scotch Whisky. Yummy. And it is simply a case of very, very gently pouring and waiting and pouring and waiting and pouring and waiting. You don't want to waste the whiskey by it all pouring off. You want it to soak into the cake. And the cake will get a drink like this every week for the next 6 weeks. So that's me done for now. I'll be doing this each week for the next 6 weeks. So the next film that you see from me won't be until I cut into the cake and sample it. That will be December. However, you need to get your cakes in the oven now. And I want to see what your cakes look like and what you're putting in them. So I'm going to upload this onto YouTube now, and then I'll put an update in December when I sample it. Probably with a piece of cheese, because that's the Yorkshire way. Anyway, cheers folks. Happy baking. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home and Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home and Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home and Garden, and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is Stu Moss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.